Another guy that we were looking at is Kyle Finnegan from the Washington Nationals. He's not a lefty. He's a righty. He probably isn't going to cost nearly as much as Tanner Scott, but he has had himself a very, very good season. Let's take a look at his numbers so far this year. He has 42.2 innings pitched. In relief, he is a 2.32 ERA, a 0.98 whip, 9.3 strikeouts per nine, 3.0 walks per nine, and then a 3.90 FIP. Pretty good numbers.
Yeah, pretty good numbers for sure. The biggest, I guess there's a few big distinctions, one being that Finnegan is a righty as opposed to a lefty. The other being that... well, yeah, both of them have closing experience. Both of them have closed games this year. But Kyle Finnegan has another year of control. So if you trade for Kyle Finnegan, you're not just getting the rest of 2024. You're also getting 2025 as well. And for the Diamondbacks, that could be appealing given that Paul Sewald is a free agent at the end of the year. Right. Last season, the Dbacks were in a situation where they needed a closer for the rest of the year and also the following year. And they're kind of in a similar situation now. I guess they've got Kevin Ginkel. They've got other options that they could go to next year, but maybe they'd rather just trade for Kyle Finnegan and have him, pitch in the back end this year and then maybe take over as the closer next season. But yeah, he's been really good for the Nationals this year. I'm not sure he's viewed quite on the same level as Tanner Scott in terms of just kind of the dominance of his swing and miss stuff. Last year, Finnegan had a 3.76 ERA with the Nationals. The year before, 3.51. The year before that, 3.55. So he's been a steady reliever, but he's not necessarily been like a low 2 ERA guy all that consistently. His FIP, as we showed there, is 3.90 this year, so quite a bit higher than his ERA. But yeah, certainly could make some sense for the Diamondbacks if they wanted to find someone who would also be back with them for 2025.
Well, and it's interesting because Jeff Passan said that the Washington Nationals are basically out. And they are not part of the group that is actually out, in my opinion. That's only been two teams in the National League up to this point. It's been the Rockies and the Marlins. And to be fair, the Rockies have been playing some better baseball lately. So I'm not saying they're going to catch up, but the Nationals are not part of that group. They are 5.5 games out of the final wild card spot. So that, I just feel, is kind of an example of how teams are thinking when there are that many teams between them and the wild card spot. Because yes, they're only 5.5 games back, but there is the Giants, the Reds, the Cubs, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Mets all between them and that final wild card spot. So there comes a point where you have to start realistically looking at the future of your team and not necessarily what's going on right now. With the trade deadline being so active, with so many teams so close, there's a chance for teams to walk away with a huge bounty for trading away some of these players. So it's understandable. It was just a little surprising to hear because I wouldn't expect that from any of these teams just yet. I mean, who knows if they go on some crazy run over the next week and then they find themselves, a little bit closer, and that's how close these teams are right now.
Yeah, it's a fair point. The Nationals have been talking about selling for quite a while. I remember when the Dbacks played the Nationals, we were talking with some people who cover the Nationals, and they were like, yeah, the Nationals are probably going to sell, and that was weeks ago. So maybe a little surprising, the approach that they've taken and kind of been in on for a while, but it certainly looks like they're going to sell. And Finnegan, maybe not a guarantee to be traded like Tanner Scott, given that he does have another year of control. It wouldn't totally shock me if the Nationals decided to just hold on to him if they don't get the price that they're looking for. One other point I want to make here is that, as we were saying earlier, Finnegan is a righty, and you might be asking, why would the Diamondbacks want a righty? They already have Ginkel and Sewald and Thompson and Justin Martinez. I asked Mike Hazen in Chicago if he had a preference between a left-handed reliever or a right-handed reliever, and he very simply said he does not have a preference. That he, anyone the Diamondbacks get, he said they want to be able to get outs in the 7th inning or later. They're looking for someone who can pitch in the back end. They're looking for someone who can get left-handed hitters out. But at the same time, I was surprised to discover that Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald, Justin Martinez, and Ryan Thompson, all 4 righties at the back end of this bullpen, have been better against lefties this season than righties. Every single one of them has reverse splits. And so from that standpoint, you can kind of, I mean, again, I don't know if that's going to be sustainable necessarily, but a back-end reliever is a back-end reliever. It's someone that you should be able to trust to get both lefties and righties out. That appears to be the approach the Dbacks are taking, and that's why we're going to be talking not just about left-handed relievers. We're going to be talking about some right-handed guys too.